All right, so today we are going to talk about starting a meditation practice or perhaps restarting a meditation practice. I've got a couple of tools around me that I'm going to briefly talk about as ways to assist and promote your meditation practice. But the first thing that I want you to know about beginning meditation is that you don't need anything. You don't need a special room, you don't need a special chair, you don't need a special time of day. All you need is the willingness to stop for a moment and check in. There are so many meditation apps, there are so many meditation programs that give you helpful anchors or guides as far as your meditation, which are definitely tools that I regularly use in my own practice. But the most important thing that we can do for ourselves, especially when we may not be able to step outside and have that moment of alone time, is to really just pause and find that home within. So first thing is first, I want to talk about some of the tools that are sitting around me. So you may notice that I've even kind of set the mood for meditation here. I've got a candle lit. That's not necessary, but it is something kind of fun and takes you from whatever you're doing and kind of brings you almost into a different place. So I do have that and almost a mini altar. Sometimes I find this helpful as it really does bring you into a different headspace, which is somewhat, yes, what we're doing our meditation practice for. But if you're unable to get to a yoga studio, or if you're unable to get to that special cozy place, right? Maybe you have a cozy chair at home or some sort of sacred place to you, you can just have little items that almost can take you into that special place. This can be photos, it can be specific little trinkets or items, just anything that takes you from the chaos that you are in to where you can just find a moment of peace. Sometimes these little trinkets can be helpful. Sometimes we can take these little trinkets and we can hold them as a way to calm ourselves as we are trying to tap in. Sometimes these can be crystals or stones, just anything that brings you comfort. I am in my mid-30s and I most definitely have things that are not stones or any kind of special trinkets. One of those is my dog that passed away recently's collar. So just anything that is a little bit soothing to you can help you get into the space where you can find your meditation, you can, quote, find your center. So I do have that set up today for today's purposes. But it can really be anything that's special to you. If you like incense, if you like essential oils, then that can also, the smell can also be an anchor, and I'll talk a little bit more about anchors in just a moment. The second thing that I have is a yoga block. Now, if you notice around me, I have yoga blocks. I have a yoga blanket behind me. I have a bolster. I have another cushion, and I'm actually seated on a meditation cushion. Do you need all of these things or any of these things at all, really? No. But here's the purpose. So first of all, I'll lift up and share my meditation cushion. It's one of my most favorite things. It was actually a Christmas gift from my brother several years ago. It has the chakras on it for sure. It's beautiful, it's comfortable, but it is something that I can take with me whether I'm teaching a yoga or meditation class or whether I'm traveling, and I really just can have like a home base, a home center. So this is a meditation cushion, but it's not anything. You can find these anywhere from $20 to $200, but it is nothing special that you need to run out and buy and wait for so that you can meditate. Behind that, I actually have a yoga blanket. It can serve the same purpose. So I'll tell you a brief little funny story about some of my things. My yoga blanket is actually, it is a Mexican blanket, which is the style of blanket that we use for yoga, but it is a meditation blanket or a Mexican blanket that I got when I was 12 years old at a miniature horse sale. My dad and I went to a miniature horse sale on a cold Friday night, and it was an auction, and I wanted one of those blankets because I was cold. My dad bought it for me, and years later it is now my yoga blanket. So again, it does have sentimental value. It's a sock for a puppy. It does have sentimental value, but there's nothing special, quote, special about it. It's not a fancy yoga trinket. So that is that. So what is the purpose of these cushions? It's just to elevate my hips, right? So let me slide into the floor. I don't know if you can even see, my diaphragm dumps forward, my rib cage dumps forward, my hips come up, and actually what happens is my low back rounds. What's gonna happen in this seated meditation, whether it's 5 minutes or 20 minutes, is I'm gonna get uncomfortable, right? And so if we tune into the Yoga Sutras where we talk about meditation, we need to be comfortable. We need to be comfortable in this physical container, our physical body, so that we can tap into thoughts, emotions, feelings, breath, all these other things. If you have tried a meditation practice before and failed, just kind of think back for a moment any time that you've started a meditation practice and you've given up because you were uncomfortable, right? You're trying to tune into thoughts or maybe even just find a place of calm, and all you can think about is the fact that your back hurts. And so this is why I sit up on a cushion, so that I have room to be able to take deep, steady breaths. We'll talk about the breath in a minute, but everything's lined up here. So my back's not here, my shoulders aren't here, and I can maintain a comfortable seat. So that's the purpose of a yoga block. So the yoga block, same thing. Now I will caution you here, these are foam. What my altar is sitting on is a cork block. So if you would like to sit on a cork block, I prefer cork blocks for my yoga practice just because they're a little bit more solid. If you'd like to sit on a cork block, I would recommend putting a blanket or even a towel over them, just because the hard surface can be hard on your bony parts if you are sitting for a prolonged time. So yoga blocks will lift your hips up. A bolster will lift your hips up. A yoga blanket will lift your hips up. But here's the thing. So will a bath towel. So will the pillow that's on your bed. Anything that you have that can take you from sitting down and coming like this to lifting up is going to do the exact same thing. So this is how we can carry our meditation practice from house to house, studio to studio, just wherever we need to be. We can take the yoga practice with us. The last thing that I have here is my yoga mat. And so for me, I do a meditation a lot of times after practice, but I also do meditations first thing in the morning. I do them late at evening. And so my yoga practice, again, can be, or my yoga mat rather, can be just a doorway, like an entry point to coming from the chaos of cooking dinner or the fog of sleep to be able to come to this place. You definitely don't have to have a yoga mat. Here's a secret. You don't even have to practice yoga to do meditation. Meditation is a very, very, very powerful tool. It can be referred to as just mindfulness, or even some people use their prayer as a type of meditation. I see prayer and meditation as something that goes hand in hand. It is something deeply personal. It is something deeply spiritual. We're going to edit that out again, and so those that are seeing behind the scenes are getting close up of Miss Cora. All right. So that being said, I want to talk a moment just about your position and your breath, and then we're going to wrap up this brief little tutorial. So I've got a little friend that is making her appearance here. I definitely find connection with animals and pets through meditation. I know people do moving meditations with horses. So just sitting and being quiet with yourself and enjoying the energy and the presence of an animal can also be a really powerful thing. So as far as the breath, you might notice if you try to breathe when you're slumping forward, in other words, your hips aren't lifted up, that you have a harder time taking steady, slow breaths. So the steady, slow breaths is what is going to bring us out of our sympathetic nervous system and into our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and our digest. That is ideal for our meditation. It'll be a totally different video and tutorial, but there's many different breath patterns or breath techniques that we can use in hand with our meditation. But for the purpose of just finding that calm, that center, we want to take deep breaths in and out through the nose. This is going to bring awareness to our breath as well as slow it down. But I want to challenge you to try to breathe and expand this breathing diaphragm here all the way into the belly while you're sitting down, and feel the difference when you're lifting up. I also want you to challenge you to feel the difference in the space in your low back, and then maybe just notice how it feels to sit. If you can find yourself a little bit more lifted, a little bit more grounded, and a little bit more comfortable. Last but not least, give yourself permission to move. I don't know how many meditation classes that I've taught or practices that I've done in the yoga space where I can just see the discomfort in people's knees or feet. Their limbs are falling asleep and they're afraid to move. So just think of it like this. If you find yourself seated in meditation and all you can think about is, I don't want to move, I don't want to move, then you've taken yourself out of that centering point. You've taken away your Zen. So just give yourself permission to say, this is uncomfortable, I need to extend my legs out, and then just get right back into it. Meditation, just like yoga, is a practice. And so we just have to give ourselves permission to start again. There is no failure. You're just pausing for a moment and then you begin again. I hope this is helpful for you, either starting a meditation practice or maybe getting back into it, giving yourself permission to move, finding a comfortable seat. And one more tip is it doesn't have to be that long. If you can give yourself 1 to 2 minutes to just check in with your breath, check in with yourself, I hope that it gives you energy. I hope that it gives you peace, clarity, and just a little bit of space for yourself. Thank you so much for choosing to tune in, and I will see you guys next time.